Attorney Gonzalez, if we were in person, you would have a warm round of applause from everyone in the room. I just want to thank you again for joining us. And without further ado, I'm going to kick it off to Attorney Gonzalez to get us started with legal basics for startups.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me well?
We sure can. You sound awesome.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. In this virtual room. As Erica said, this is the fourth time I do this. It is a pleasure for me. Um, so let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I was born and raised in Venezuela. Um, if you don't know about Venezuela, it is a country located in South America. It used to be 20 years ago one of the most prosperous countries in the entire region. Now it's being completely destroyed by the government. And the reason what I'm telling you this is because I have seen entrepreneurship in, in the worst and most adverse conditions ever. When the government is your worst enemy. They don't want you to start a business. They don't want you to succeed. And still, I saw a lot of successful businesses down in Venezuela for many, many years. I graduated as an attorney 15 years ago, and I've been working very closely with businesses in different areas, different industries. But then, because of the whole situation, all the craziness in Venezuela, I started working on helping these companies to move their operations to different countries. So that was my first exposure to international business transactions. All of my clients were moving out of Venezuela to different countries, and that's how I got involved in um, cross-border deals where my clients were buying or merging into other companies in different countries. That took me to Europe in 2011, where it was a dream for me just to study abroad. So me and my wife decided to go there for a year, and this is back in 2011, 2012, right after the crisis. The crisis, the Great Recession hit Europe a couple of years later and harder. And so when I was there, again, a lot of financial adversities to companies in Europe. Still, I saw how these companies were thriving, and I know it sounds cliche, but this is true. Major crises represent a lot of opportunities for entrepreneur guys like people like you. So I will keep saying this over and over again. So after my master's degree in Europe, I went back to Venezuela and I was going deeper on these cross-border deals. I was helping companies again in different industry, mostly oil and gas, but also manufacturing companies, logistic, uh, um, technology, healthcare. All of these companies were moving away from Venezuela. And in 2016, I decided to come to the US and to go to UGA to earn a master's degree in business law. I already had one from Europe, so I knew the European legislation and part of the American legislation as well. But when I was in Europe, most of my professors, some of them from from UK, Netherlands, France, they were always comparing themselves with American attorneys, and they were always saying, "Well, this is how we do contracts in England, for instance, but this is how Americans do contracts. This is how we do merger and acquisitions in the Netherlands, but this is how Americans do M&A deals." So that brought my attention. Few years later, I was doing some deals with American companies in Latin America, and eventually I moved to the US in 2016. I got my master's degree from UGA in 2017. It was a great experience, and now I'm about to finish the MBA program at Georgia State with a concentration in entrepreneurship and international business. So, and I swear I won't go back to school again. This is enough. Three master's degrees is more than enough. But what I do here in the US is I help foreign companies to invest in the US, to start operations, to move their operations, and to enter the American market. So I work very closely with the city of Atlanta, with the state of Georgia, and other organizations to turn Atlanta into an attractive option to foreign investors. But I also work with local companies here in Atlanta who wants to expand their operations, their business to Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and so on. So I do inbound and outbound transactions. And part of what I do is a cross-functional type of work. So I work very closely with accountants, consultants, with public and private organizations, because it's part of what I do. Is the legal component is just a very important one, but it's a small component of every cross-border transaction. So there's a lot of strategy on that. If you want to export your product or service to a country in Latin America, but you're not sure which country. So I start working with these companies on the legal analysis or what country is more friendly, more open uh, to your product, to your service. And in top of that, you have to add, do you have a good market there? So there's a lot of market research on that. And then the financial implications, how do you fund operations in the different countries? How do you deal with currency fluctuations in the different countries? What happens if do you have certainty in these countries? For instance, Brazil or Mexico are the two largest market for Atlanta-based companies. But then, for product you're selling in Brazil, you're what you're getting is real, which is the Brazilian currency, or you're getting Mexican pesos. How do you turn that into dollars? And what happened if the Mexican peso depreciate 1 week later after you sell your product or service? So there's a lot of moving pieces when you're doing business abroad. Okay, but I won't go into that today. So what I want to go today, um, I will talk about entity selection, entity formation. How do you form your own business? It's very simple. It will take you only 15, 20 minutes. You don't have to pay an accountant. You don't have to pay a lawyer to do that. Okay, you can do it on your own. And it can only cost you $100. If you go to a CPA or to a lawyer, they will charge you $500 or $1,000 to do it. You can do it yourself. Um, we will also talk about the importance of having contracts in place. What happens if you don't have a contract? What happened with contracts today, within the situation, the coronavirus? And this is a learning lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs and business people. You need to understand the complexity. You have to understand the complexity of the situation, why having contracts is so important. Um, Moving on, this is our firm. Drew Eckel and Farnham was founded in 1983, so it's been in existence for 36, 37 years now. We have over 110 attorneys, 260 people, including staff. We're the sixth fastest growing law firm in Atlanta. We're one of the 400. We're there. We're in the list of the largest U.S. law firms, and we have three locations across Georgia. We have 16 different practice areas. Um, so moving on to the next slide, this is what we call the life cycle of a business. And I see the chat box here. Please, please ask any questions you might have. Okay, I'll be happy to answer your questions throughout the presentation. I want to do this as dynamic, much dynamic as I can. This is how we do it. This is how we used to do it uh, when we were doing these in-person presentations. I want to encourage you guys to raise your hand and ask any questions you might have. And I apologize for my broken English and my thick accent. I'm still working on it. But please feel free to ask any question. I'll be happy to answer. So again, this is what we call the life cycle of a business. It goes from, we have four major stages from inception, and most of you are here in the ideation stage, pre-revenue businesses. So it goes from entity selection and formation, and then we have business expansion, maturity, and exit. Okay, I want to show you this chart because it's very, very important for some of you, not all of you, to keep in mind. Can you see the pointer on the screen? Do you see the, okay. It's very important for some of you to keep in mind an exit strategy on your ideation stage. Sounds crazy, but it's not. Especially if you're looking to raise funds or have a partner in your business. It's really, really important that you agree from day one on an exit strategy with your partners, with your investors, and put that in writing. So I'm going to expand on that later. Um, Before moving to entity selection, I just want to give you a brief explanation of the life cycle of a business. So you have here, the first one is entity structure, selection, and formation. Again, I'm going to elaborate more on that later. But basically, for most of you, a single member LLC will be enough. Okay, so a limited liability company, I'm gonna explain later how it works. But a single member limited liability company will be enough if you're on your own. If you're creating your product, if you're working yourself in this company, there's no one else. Okay, as an owner, this will be enough. But then if you have someone else, not as an employee, but as a partner, someone else is investing money in your project, someone else is working with you in the idea of this business, or you're gonna award someone with with sweat equity. Okay, someone is gonna own a percentage of your business. It's very important to keep in mind the different type of entities. So basically you have limited liability companies, LLCs, and you have corporations. And for tax purposes, you have S corporations and C corporations, but we're going to expand on that later again. So if you do have, uh, or you're thinking about bringing more people into your company, as a shareholder, as a partner, as a member, not as an employee. And you have to know the difference between having an employee and having a partner. They're two different things. If you're thinking about having a partner in your company in the future, or you have it right now, please make sure you have a shareholder agreement. Erica, can you hear me? Hello? Erica.
We will.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. You're back.
Okay. Okay. What's going on?
Oh Oh no, the system.
Eric,
There you go. Now I hear you again.
I don't know what's going on. Um,
It's just the entire world trying to do the same thing we're doing right now.
okay, so what was the last thing you heard?
The last thing we heard, you were talking about, bringing other people into the organization, but there's a difference between bringing someone in as a partner versus bringing them in as an employee.
Okay, okay. I want to emphasize on this because if someone is making an actual contribution like cash or an idea, wait a second.
Entire world is
I don't know.
trying to conduct business the same way we are. You're back.
Yeah, let me try something else. Let me try something different. Um,
Hear you now.
okay, but I don't want to move around the house to see if I have. The problem, guys, is that I have two daughters, 5 and 3, and they don't understand that I'm working now. So if I move to my studio, they will be jumping all over me. So 1 second.
We appreciate you. We do.
It's my pleasure. So what I was saying is, please, like, make some of you, most of you, if you have a very small business, the difference between like some of these might be relevant now, but as you start growing, and this is one of the growing strategy that all business have, bringing a partner to your company is fundamental. Okay, because you cannot do it on your own. Sometimes it's just impossible. So if you have a partner, you're thinking of having one, please make sure that there's a lot of things involved there. But the first thing you must do is to have a written agreement with that person. And that agreement must include the role of each one of you, the contribution. So there are three types of contribution on every business: monetary contribution, cash, investors, you're making an investment in your business. The second one is uh, ideas, intellectual property, might be a creation of a brand, might be a creation of some sort of, again, some sort of intellectual deliverable. It could be a book, it could be uh, coding, software, it could be many things coming from the intellect. And the third one, it could be the person that will actually operate the business. Sometimes you can be the brain, but sometimes you cannot operate a business on your own. And if that person is going to help you operate in the business, you have to draw the line between being a partner and an employee. Okay, because if you basically you're giving someone a percentage of your company in exchange of that person operating your business, but at the same time you're paying that person a salary, same salary that person will get in the market, out in the market. So that person is double dipping. Okay, so you have to be careful on that. Uh, the distribution of the equity in the business is a very sensitive subject, and you have to be clear. You have to agree from the very beginning and put it in writing. If you don't do it, you most likely will have issues in the future. In the future. So moving on. So if you have a corporation, the name for that is you put that on the bylaws and shareholder agreements. If you have an LLC, you will do it on a membership in an operating agreement. That's the document that encompass all these type of agreements. Okay. If again, if someone is gonna make capital contribution, is gonna invest money in your business, so you have to put in writing how much money that person is going to invest. What's going to be the time frame, or the timeline for those contributions? It's gonna put all the money up front? Is it subject to certain conditions? Everything has to be in writing, because these shareholder agreements, these operating agreements are it is a contract between all the partners, between each other and the partners and the company. So what happened if Erica and I start a business tomorrow, and she's going to be the one operating the business, but I'm going to be the one making capital contribution, and I tell Erica, yes, I'm going to invest, say, $100,000 in your business, okay, but you don't need all that money today. You might be needing some of this money today, some other fraction of it in 6 months, and the rest in 10 months from now. What happened if I tell Erica uh, before the last payment, hey, you know what? I don't want to invest more money in this company. Um, I just don't like it. I don't like your idea anymore. So she will be working hard and hard and hard, and she will be trying to put this project together, and then she won't have the money enough to keep the business running. Okay, and even worse, if she gave me a percentage of the business in exchange of my capital contribution, say 30%, 40%, 50% of the company, okay, and I'm not making those capital contributions the way we agree from the beginning, then she will be in a very tough position, because I will keep that percentage in the company without making the contribution as promised. So again, you have to put that in writing. Um, Same with, let's see the other side of the coin. What happened if uh, Erica says, well, I'm going to work for this company for 2 years. I'm going to take this company to the break-even point, and from there we can hire more people. We can hire a manager who can take the company from that moment on. And what happens if she says in the within the first year, Javier, I'm tired. I find a better job. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, but I already gave her 50% of the business, or 40 or 60% of the business in exchange of her um, work. What happened if she leaves? What happened to the project? What happened to her percentage? Is going to remain the same. So you have to you have to put terms and conditions in writing when it comes to making these different contributions. What happens if she's making an intellectual contribution? What if she's the one with the idea? What happens if she leaves the company and she starts a business using the same idea? Do you have a non-compete in place? Do you have a confidentiality agreement in place? You need all of that. Okay. Moving on to IP development and protection. So let me step back. Let me see what, okay. So the next slide is the entity selection information, okay? And after that, we're going to talk about IP. Yes, okay. So how much time do we have, Erica?
We have exactly an hour. We go to 2:45, so we have an hour left.
2:45.
Yep.
Okay, okay. I'm going back briefly to the life cycle of a business. Again, I'm going to talk about IP, intellectual property, later. Commercial contracts. Um, let's see, capital financing. Are you going to do uh, friends, fools, and family and fools? Are you going to a venture capital firm to fund uh, your business? Are you going to a bank? Are you going to self fund? You're going to do self funding. It depends. There are many options there. This is all in the this inception stage. This is what you need to know when you're starting a business, and this industry specific compliance. If you're doing uh, food business, you need food permits, you need local um, licenses, It depends if you're doing transportation, you might need a license from the Department of Transportation. Um, if you're in the technology industry, in the fintech industry, you're you're under certain regulations. So it depends on the industry. Employment agreements and executive incentives. Again, this is what most of you understand as sweat equity. What happens if you don't have enough money to pay a key employee to work in your company, but you want to give them a percentage of your business in exchange of their hard work? Okay, so you need to have an employment arrangement or executive incentive agreement in place, which is basically telling this person, I'm going to give you X percentage of my business as long as you stay with me for this number of years. Okay, and then this is something that used to be irrelevant for most small businesses or companies actually in pre-revenue stage, but now it is, which is cybersecurity and insurance policy compliance, especially for those who are starting their business online, they're selling products or services online, you're handling payment. You need to be careful with the information you collect from your clients and customers. This is very, very, very important today because if you're taking payments using different tools, different softwares, you can be held liable in case of a data breach. Okay, so please make sure that you're following all the laws, depending on the nature of your business.
Yeah, we are actually doing cybersecurity for entrepreneurs on April 17th.
That's great. Pay a lot of attention to it because, like, especially now, a lot of companies are under attack. Actually, our firm, right before it was closed, because we're located in the um, SunTrust Plaza building, so we have thousands of people working there. And right the week before, the first week of March, we got attacked by ransomware, but it was bad. I mean, it was coming from everywhere. Fortunately, we have a good IT department, and they handled really well the situation. But small businesses are getting attacked all the time. Then moving on to so then I'll later I'll be back. I'm coming back to the inception stage because I will be talking about IP development and protection and commercial contracts. But briefly, the expansion stage is depending on how fast is your business growing. You can use different strategies for this, and it depends on the nature of your business. You can do joint ventures and strategic partnerships in order to grow your business to grow to new markets. Okay, sometimes you cannot do it on your own, but there's some other type of products or services that might be complementary to what you do, and doing these partnerships are key to enter to new markets. Licensing and franchising agreements. These were very, very common back in the 90s and early 2000. Now, the dream of an entrepreneur is different, but this is when you develop IP, intellectual property, and then you license it out to, well, that's still very common. The franchisee one is not, but licensing agreements. So once you develop a patent, a trademark, a copyright, you can license someone else to use um, that intellectual property, and you get royalties in exchange. So you're making money without doing anything, basically allowing someone else to use your IP. Uh, Trade agreements, imports and export compliance. You can expand your business by growing to different markets when you're importing or exporting. Um, supply chain integration, that's kind of complex to talk right now. Mergers and acquisitions, when you're buying your competitor or someone who can actually help you with technologies or services you don't have, you can acquire those companies or merge into different companies. When you're at a maturity stage, it's quite simple. You're basically doing maintenance for your business. So it's contract management, making sure that all your contracts are in place, um, uh, employment law compliance. It can become troublesome, especially today. You see companies today struggling with their employees. Um, So there's a lot of here immaturity. So you're growing too slow or you're not growing at all. So it's basically maintenance. But I want to focus here on the exit strategy. So there's a lot of things here, but there are basically three ways to exit your business. So one is selling your business. Okay, you can sell it to a third party buyer. You can sell it to your own management. Okay, your own employees. They will take over your business, and you can make a succession plan with them. The other one is going public, doing an IPO, initial public offering. So it's basically what Facebook did and what all big startups wants to do, what WeWork wanted to do. Uh, so basically, that's taking the company to the next level. You can be losing control over your company, um, but basically, whatever equity you have in the company is going to be worth millions and millions of dollars. And the third one, which is very common among small businesses, is the business succession planning, where you're basically um, um, passing on your company to the next generation in your family. Okay, so for that, you train your kids. I know you're too young to think about it, but maybe in the future, um, basically, you're gonna train your children. You're gonna ask them for some conditions in order to take the business in the future. Okay, why am I telling about this today? Again, if you have a partner or you're planning to have a partner, okay, to bring a partner on board, what happened again using uh, my business idea with my business example with Erica? What happened if Erica wants to sell her her percentage in the company in 2 years from now? And I don't want to. I want to keep this business for 5 years, or I want to keep this business forever and pass it on to my children. Okay, what happens if you don't have that conversation today and you don't put that in writing? You need, so that's gonna bring troubles in the future for sure, for sure. It can get rough. So if you have that conversation from the very beginning with your partner, you can prepare in advance, because you will need, if you want to buy your partner out of the company, you will need a lot of money for that. Okay. If both of you agree in selling the company in 2 years or 5 years from now, you can work toward that goal. And this is what the ABC of entrepreneurship, all the entrepreneurship books keeps telling you. Reinvest all the money you get from the company, all the profits. You just reinvest that money in the first 2 or 3 years. Make your company valuable, and sell it. Okay, that's a very common strategy, especially in technology world. But what happens if your partner don't want to sell? And it happens a lot. A lot of our clients come to our firm saying, "Hey, I'm having this partnership dispute. My partner, we have this opportunity to sell the company. We only have a framework. We only have few days to accept this offer, but my partner don't want to sell." So if you have a written agreement from day one, that partner cannot say the opposite. They have to agree. Okay. Now, entity.
There-
Yes.
Before we go on, I have two people who have raised their hand, but I don't see a question in the chat box. I just want to check in
Okay.
with Tima and Shane. Did either one of you still want to ask your question? Tima just put her hand down. Shane, did you still want to ask your question? Well, then I will just throw this out there. You mentioned the importance of having everything in writing. I often share this example where I was in a meeting with two business partners that, of course, in the beginning, they were all excited, everything was wonderful, but then they didn't, the money didn't start coming in like both of them expected it to. And when money's tight, things get, real stressful and strenuous, and they were trying to decide, what they wanted to do with the business, and they were not on the same page. And long story short, that meeting got so intense, and I'm not exaggerating, I thought I was going to have to break up a fight. I think had we let the meeting go on for 5 more minutes, that one of them really would have reached over the table and tried to punch the other one.
Yeah.
Money makes you young people, if you haven't seen it yet, and I hope you never experience it, but I'm here to tell you, if you live long enough, you heard old people say, if you live long enough, you will see how money can change people. So it's imperative that you get everything in writing up front in the beginning when it's good. Because when
Yes.
things are bad, it's too late.
That's a great point, Erica,
Yep.
because actually I've been practicing law for 15 years, but I've been in the legal industry for 20 years now. And there are two things to, that can get very nasty very rapidly: divorces and partnership disputes. So I always make this comparison just to people to understand it better. This is kind of when this is similar when you are about to get married. So you are very, very in love with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and everything is so beautiful and nice. Everyone is so nice. Okay, but then you're thinking about a prenup agreement. Okay, how do you throw that to the table? How do you ask your boyfriend or girlfriend to sign a prenup right before getting married? Okay, do you want to have that conversation? Some people might take it as a trust issue. You're not trusting me. You think I'm getting married with you because of what you have or what you will own in the future. The problem is when you don't have a prenup and then you're getting divorced, things get really, really bad. Okay, because you were not thinking on this situation before getting married. Sometimes it's impossible to foresee. Uh, but the problem with divorces, and it happens the same with partnership dispute, is that it's just, like people are not using their brain. People is not reasonable. People is just being passionate. Okay, so passion is taking over people, and they will do whatever they need to kill each other. Okay, they can go bankrupt, but I won't give you what I have just because. And same happens with partnership disputes. So whatever plan you have, and you're working on a business plan, right? Erica, you were saying that you were working on a business plan. It's part of the program you have, right?
Writing a business plan is tomorrow. That session is tomorrow at 1:15.
Okay. So pay a lot of attention to it, because when you're writing a business plan, you're doing or your financial analysis, you're 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 doing the analysis for your break-even point. You know when your company, you know how much money you will need to start your business, to grow your business. You will do some market research to see how uh, successful your product or service will be. So there's a lot of analysis prior to starting your business when you're doing a business plan. But moving on to the entity selection and formation, there are basically three type of entities I want to talk to you about. There's some, I'm not including partnerships because they're very rare at a startup stage. But I will talk to you about the sole proprietorship, LLCs, and corporations. And these are the things I want to emphasize when I'm talking about selection and formation of an entity. The legal considerations, the tax considerations, and some other additional factors such as capital raising and employee incentives. Okay, so the only thing I will tell you about sole proprietorship is just one thing: don't do it. That's it. Don't you ever do it. Okay, sole proprietorship is a big mistake and a common mistake among entrepreneurs because it's easy to do. If you go to a bank, you will find a lot of bankers who will actually encourage you to start your business as a sole proprietorship. And some CPAs, some accountants, or tax preparers, they will ask you to do it as well. And they have the reasons to do it, but they don't know the legal implications of having a sole proprietorship. Basically, a sole proprietorship is yourself with a trademark, a trade name. Okay, so you're basically exposing all your assets, everything you are, everything you own on behalf of the business. There's no separation between you and the business. There's no entity formed when you're doing a sole proprietorship. Okay, so be very careful with that. Just don't do it. Now, do you want to have asset protection when you're doing your business, when you're selling your product or services or providing services? Go with a LLC or a corporation. This is a separate entity, okay? And your personal assets are going to be protected from the company's liabilities, okay? So if something goes wrong with the service you're providing, you are, um, I don't know, preparing an event, a wedding or whatever, or you're providing X services and you cannot perform for whatever reason, or you're selling a product and this product won't meet uh, the expectation of your clients, or something goes wrong with the products, it can happen, especially in the food industry, it happens a lot. Okay, you don't want to be held personally liable for the company's liabilities. If someone gets poison, food poison, you don't want to lose your car, your house, or whatever personal assets you might have. Okay, so if you want to prevent that from happening, you need to form an entity and keep all the legal formalities in place. The legal formalities are very simple. Just go to the, if you're gonna operate in Georgia, just go to the Secretary of State and the Division of Corporation of the state of Georgia. That's quite easy. Just go to online services, register, sign up, log in, and start your own business. It's a very simple process. They're gonna ask you for your name a few times, address, email address, and that's pretty much it. You will be the organizer, you will be the registered agent in the company. So you will write your name 4 or 5 times, and then you pay $100, and that's it. You get your entity formed. Okay, whether it's a corporation or an LLC, the process is exactly the same. Once your company is formed, you go to the IRS website, you apply for a EIN. EIN is Employer Identification Number, what most people know as tax ID, right? And once you get that, the EIN, you go to a bank and open a bank account. Very simple. Some banks, they have specific bank account for small businesses where you're not being charged a fee. SunTrust is one of those. You don't need to have money in your bank account, so you won't be paying fees as long as you make 4 or 5 transactions a month. You can do it transferring money from your personal bank account to the company bank account. So those are the legal formalities, and then every year you have to pay for the annual fees. In the state of Georgia, it's $50. Uh, it varies among the states. Of course, you can add, depending on the industry again, there's more legal formalities. If you are in the food industry, for instance, you will need some local permits and some specific licenses depending on the product, FDA approval depending on the product. Um, but to keep it simple, those are the legal formalities. Things can get more difficult when we're talking about accounting formalities. Okay, but I'm going to explain that later. Okay, this is a good question. I heard that LLC is more expensive when you need to renew the license. It is too much when comparing to sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship, every year you have to pay $50 to the state of Georgia. Okay, again, it varies among states. The sole proprietorship, you pay, I believe it's $25. You go to a court and pay $25 just because you're notifying the state that you're using a trade name, which is a DBA. You're doing business as. So you are Tran doing business as Tran Consulting or Tran Industries. But again, I want to emphasize this. A sole proprietorship is not a different entity. It is yourself with a trade name. Okay? So if something happens with your business, you're going to be held personally liable for the company's liabilities. And please do not make that mistake, not so early in your career. Okay? So $50 a month, a year is not a lot of money. Okay? Just pay the annual fees to the state of Georgia, whatever state you want to incorporate your business. It's not a lot of money again. Um, so going back to entity selection, I'm going to keep it simple. If you're doing business on your own, there's no partner, there's no intention to bring partners in the near future, just go with a single member LLC. It's very easy. Okay, it is the same process. Nothing will change basically. It's going to be yourself starting a new entity, and the entity, every business transaction you do in the future is going to be between the business entity and the client or the customer. Okay, now if you are considering to have a partner in your business, okay, the situation gets a little bit we're starting to get into taking more things into consideration. If that partner is going to make a capital contribution and you're thinking about making distributions in the future in connection with the percentage that each one of you will own in the company, you can still do an LLC, a two-member or multi-member LLC. Still very easy to form, very easy to maintain, very easy. Okay. When can I recommend you to go with a corporation? If you're thinking about getting funds from a venture capital firm in the near future, or grant awarding sweat equity to some key employees, then the C corporation might be the best option. Also, if you're thinking about reinvesting all the profits in the company and not paying out distributions to the owners, a C corporation might be another good option. Why? And this is where the tax considerations plays a role. LLCs, limited liability companies, they pay taxes at the individual tax rate. So if your individual tax rate it's say 35%, 37%, okay, then you will be paying taxes with that tax rate. Okay, while in the C corporations, the tax rate is 21%. Okay, it is lower after the tax reform in 2017. The corporate tax rates for C corporations went down to 21%. 21% again, 35% is a big difference. Okay, but you will only get 21% as long as you don't pay dividends, which is distributions to the owners. Okay, so whatever remaining you have after paying all the company's liabilities, you're going to be paying 21% over those net revenues. Okay, but if you want to pay dividends to the shareholders, to the owners of the company, then those shareholders will be paying taxes at their individual rate. So it's basically double taxation. And Erica, this here's where I love to have the whiteboard to start drawing all this stuff because it gets complex. But the 21% rate is a good idea if you're planning to reinvest all the not all substantially all the revenues within the first 3 or 5 years of the company. Okay, so I like to use the coffee shop example for this. Okay, say you have a successful coffee shop in downtown Atlanta, and you're paying all the employees, you're paying all the liabilities, all the vendors, and then you're paying yourself a salary, $100,000 a year in salary. Those are business expenses, okay, or operational expenses. Then whatever the revenue, the net is, you're paying 21% on it. Let's say you're accumulating revenues, okay, earnings um, every year, and within 2 years, 2 or 3 years, your retained earnings, your accumulated earnings are, I don't know, $500,000. You have that sitting on the bank account. You can reinvest that amount of money in more equipment, in opening a second location, a third location, a fifth location, um, or starting a new line of products, whatever you want to do to reinvest that amount of money. So the value of the company, you're still paying 21% taxes, and the value of your company is growing and growing and growing. Then if you have an exit strategy, you want to sell your business in year 5, okay, you just sell the share of the companies, the shares. So the buyer will buy the entire thing, okay, you're gonna get paid money, and in the meantime, during those 5 years, you were paying 21%. Okay, that's a good strategy. That's a good exit strategy, and you're making it tax efficient because you're using the right entity for that. But if you're not planning to do this, if you want to have your business and take all the money you can from the business and use it for something else, just go with an LLC. Keep it simple. Okay. Um, Corporations, on the other hand, they have some additional legal formalities, simple things that every year you need to have an annual meeting, and you can get those meetings templates online and just submit it to the Secretary of State. You'll be fine with that. You will actually need some corporate books. So there's some additional formalities for corporations, but it's it's not that bad. Okay. And the last point on this slide is consideration about equity splitting between founders. Okay, so I already told you about having a written agreement in place and what happens if you don't have. Okay, but the complexity here, and this is a conversation I have with a lot of founders, is how do we agree on a percentage? Okay, what's the value of the capital contribution against the value of an intellectual contribution? How do I know if Erica's uh, contribution worth more than mine capital? Okay, so that's when you work. That's where the financial analysis you do on your business plan come into place. This is very important because some people just do it like random. Okay, let's do 50-50. Let's do 60-40%. Let's do 70-30%. Okay, if you come to an agreement, great. What happens if you don't? What happens if I say, well, I'm risking a lot of money in this business? What will you lose if something goes wrong? Time. You're getting paid a salary in the meantime. Okay, so how do we agree on a percentage? The first advice I give you is do not do 50-50. It's a big mistake because you can get into a deadlock situation. Okay, and then most likely you will ended up dissolving the company. Okay, so someone needs to have control over the company. 51%, 60%, 70%, whatever that is. Okay, but in case of a disagreement, you have two options. Majority vote will have the last word, or if you even go with a 50-50, you need to have a deadlock provision in your operating agreement or shareholder agreement. What happens if the parties do not agree? Will you ask the opinion of a third party? Okay, would you go to arbitration? Please don't go to court for this because you will be spending all your money in lawyers. Okay, and I won't recommend you to do that. I don't. I'm not a court lawyer, thanks God. But going to court is gonna take you at least $15,000, $20,000. That's at least. Okay? You don't want to waste that money in lawyers. So the determination of the percentage is a tough discussion because it could be it's very subjective. Okay, for me, maybe $100,000 is all the money in the world. Maybe for Erica, it's not. So if I'm gonna put $100,000 in her business, I want to have the majority of their business. Okay, but she doesn't want to lose control of her company for $100,000. Okay, so that's a negotiation you need to have with your potential business partner. Moving on. Yes.
This leads us into our next. We have a question, but pretty much is being teed up by what you're getting ready to
I don't see the
talk
question.
about. You see it? Yeah, she's asking about paying yourself. So that ties right into what you're getting ready to talk about.
Well, that's a really good question. Paying yourself a salary. This is a really good question, and that takes me back to the previous slide. Um, so let me see. Okay, this is not easy to explain, but LLCs, you're not allowed to pay yourself a salary. Okay, by law, under the law, you're not allowed to pay yourself a salary. So how do you make money? So technically, you do what we call draws, which is the opposite of capital contribution. You're withdrawing money from the company. Okay. And you can do it on a regular basis. You can do it on a weekly basis. You can do it on a monthly basis. You do it as you deem um, uh, relevant. Now, okay, I'm going back to your question later, Fong, but I don't see the other question about the paying a salary. But I'm gonna continue with the explanation. So you're withdrawing money from the capital account. There's LLCs, they have a capital account, and you're withdrawing money from that account again every week, every 2 weeks, every month. Okay, so you have to be careful with undercapitalizing the company. Okay, because if you're withdrawing money from the capital account and then you're not able to pay your vendors and your employees, okay, then you can held personally liable because you're undercapitalizing your business. Okay, uh, if you want to have if you want to have salary, if you want to be a W-2 employee, you want to be on your own payroll, you have to notify the IRS and tell the IRS, hey, I'm opting to pay myself the salary, okay, as a W-2 employee, and then you will be paying taxes as an S corporation, not as a C corporation, but as an S corporation. And it gets complicated. Um,
I don't know that and of course as the attorney your mind always goes to the the more complicated scenario, but I wonder if she really is just thinking about how do I get my money? How do I get my money out of the business?
well,
I really think that you were about to address it when you talk about the corporate veil, and you already mentioned about the
no,
EIN number. So
the relation between getting money from the company and the corporate veil is what I mentioned is undercapitalizing your business, undercapitalization. But I want to go there. I don't want to go there now. So basically, you have two ways to get money out of your business. One is you pay yourself a salary, okay, and whatever residual you have, you pay it as a contribute. You pay as a distribution, okay. If you have an LLC, it is a distribution, a profit distribution. If you have a corporation, we call it dividends, okay. Those are technicalities you don't need to know now, but these are the two ways to get your money out of the business. Okay. Each one of them will have different tax implications. And just to keep it simple, if you're doing business on your own, just go with a single member LLC, okay, and withdraw money from the capital account as you need it, as long as you pay your vendors and all your liabilities. Okay. If you want to know more about it and the tax implications, we can have a separate conversation on that. I don't know if you're going to have a session about accounting for startups, but accountants, yes.
we normally we have financial basics, which covers at the it scratches the surface. So
Okay,
that probably will happen over the summer. We don't have it in April, but that will happen over the summer.
because like everything, like the decision will depend basically on one thing. How do you take advantage of payroll taxes? That's it. Okay, so accountants this is true. They have a Word, an Excel file, a spreadsheet, and they put the different scenarios. If you're paying yourself a salary, you're just withdrawing money from the capital account, and they will take you the tax impact of that decision. That's it. It's that simple. But we don't have the time to do that today. Okay, so we have 20 minutes left. Um, corporate veil. Corporate veil is what is, this is a technical, this is a legality thing, but this is what we call the corporate shield. And again, this is where you separate your assets from the company liabilities. This is where you say, hey, I'm a different person, I'm a complete different person, and the company is an entity. Okay, do not mix up the two things. Okay, and I already told you what are the legal duties to keep those liabilities away from your assets. Okay, now, and the tax duties, just pay your taxes. But there's something I'm missing here, which is basically commingling. Do you know what's commingling your assets? Is basically mixing your finance with the company's finance. Basically, is um, I got paid for selling these products with the company or providing these services with the company. The money is in the company's bank account, and I need to go and do my groceries, and I'm gonna pay with the company's debit card or credit card in Walmart, Publix, Kroger, whatever that is. Okay, or I need to pay the next car installment, and I don't have money in my bank account. I'm gonna use the money, the company's money, to pay for the car payment, whatever the insurance or rent or mortgage payment. Whatever personal liability you have, you should not use the company's money to pay for those liabilities. The moment you do that, you're losing that corporate shield. You're allowing someone else to pierce the corporate veil, okay, which is basically destroy that shield and going after your assets. Same happens if, say, you are gonna sell a product and you don't have money in the company bank account. So you use your own personal bank account to fund, some of the materials, some of the to pay the vendors or to pay some of the things you need to provide the service or make the product. Okay, so again, you're combining your personal assets with the company's assets, and you're making yourself liable. So this is very important because a lot of people get in trouble for this, a lot. Okay, so keep your finance separated. What if you need, especially today is so easy because you can do Zelle or you can do Venmo, whatever. So you can transfer money from your personal bank account to the business bank account and make whatever transactions you make any payment you need to do from the company's bank account, and vice versa. Okay, if you need to do your groceries and you need to make your car payment or whatever, insurance, transfer the money from the company's bank account to your personal bank account and make the payment from your personal bank account. Because the first thing that personal injuries attorneys will do, or product liability attorneys will do, is they will make an audit. They will request an audit on the company's bank transactions, and if they see that you are paying company's expenses with your own money, or you were paying personal expenses with the company's bank account, they will go after you. They will pierce the corporate veil. They will destroy that corporate shield, and they will go after your assets. Maybe you have nothing to lose, just your car, but they will use it as a leverage to put pressure on you. And you don't, believe me, you don't want to be on that position. I'm going to be brief with the IP. So you have four ways to protect intellectual property. You have patents, copyrights, trademark, trade secrets. The first three, patents, copyrights, and trademark, are the type of protection to make something available to the public. So when the patent process, it's a very complex process. Attorneys need a specific license for that. Um, it's very expensive. So you might be need to create something new or to change substantially something that existed before. Okay, so not every invention will qualify for patent protection. Copyrights, a book, um, some sort of coding. You can do it. Some designs you can protect it as copyrights. Okay, for those in the cloth industry, you can protect some of it using copyrights. This is very cheap. You can do it on your own. It will cost you like a copyright application. It costs, I think, it's $40 or $70. Okay, and basically, it's giving you a first right of use. Is basically you're telling the world, hey, I'm the creator of this song. I'm the creator of this idea. Okay, and from there, it's going to be protected if someone else wants to copy it. Trademark, uh, you can divide trademarks in three different categories. The first one is the brand. The second one is the logo. Is the logo. And the third one is the slogan. Okay, so McDonald's, for instance, their their brand is McDonald's. Okay, and you can protect that just the brand. Okay, it's like a trade name. Then you have the logo, the yellow M. That's an image. You can protect that as the logo. And the third one and is the slogan is I'm loving it. It varies. They change it every now and then. Um, but you have the three levels of the three different trademark protection. Okay, you can combine two of them or the three together, and you can make different applications. So the complexity about trademarks, they're not very expensive, but the complexity is you have different levels of protections. You have federal protection, you have state protection, okay, and then that protection will extend to different industries. So when you're applying for trademark protection, you can apply uh, to be protected in the food industry, in financing, banking finance industry. Like, it depends on the industries. You can do like a umbrella protection where you're basically protected in all different industries. It's like Coca-Cola. You cannot have like a tire shop selling tires with the name Coca-Cola because they extended the protection to all industries. Okay. Um, and then you have trade secrets. This is one of the most confusing one because you're protecting intellectual property as a secret. So you don't want to make it available to the public. So for instance, recipes, formulas, okay, those are coding. Uh, those are trade secrets. For instance, Coca-Cola is one of the best examples for that. Coca-Cola tried to protect their formula for many, many, many years. Okay, they couldn't do it, so they keep it as a trade secret. Just a few people have access to it, and the only way to protect a secret or a trade secret is using contracts, using non-disclosure agreements, the NDAs, confidentiality agreements, or non-competes. Those are the type of contracts, very brief. You can get those contracts online. A lot of people get it wrong because they're short contracts and people believe they're easy to download, uh, modify, and execute, but they're not. There's a lot of legal uh, regulations on those non-competes, confidentiality agreement, and non-disclosure agreements, and it varies state by state. But basically, for instance, Coca-Cola, they were not inventing something new. They were not creating something new. They created, yeah, of course, they created a new beverage, a new drink, but it was the mix of different ingredients. Okay, and they were protecting that as a secret. They only allow a few people to get access to that formula. Okay, and I'm sure that each one of those few persons who have access to the Coca-Cola formula, they're signing a very, very, very aggressive agreement, and if they violate that agreement, they will be in troubles. Okay, um, so I know that was quick. Let's go to the questions now because how many we have? What, 8 minutes?
Yes, yes, we're scheduled to end at 2:45.
Okay, okay. So I have a question from Fong.
From Fatima, yes, she
I don't
asked
see
it.
that question.
That's weird. I don't know why you're not seeing it. I'm sorry.
I only see the questions from Fong.
I'm sorry. It is from Fung. It is from Fung.
Okay, so you can answer this later. Should you start registering your business as an entity?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying, especially during this time of uncertainty when you don't expect to earn income in the near future. When's the best time? When should they
Uh, As
spend the money?
well, as soon as you're uh, thinking about selling a product or providing a service, why? Because you can take all the business losses and you can deduct it from your personal income taxes. So if you're investing money in this business, let's say you're using your computer, you're using a room in your apartment, you're buying materials, you're buying things, okay? And even if the company is not profitable, you can take all those losses and again deduct deduct those losses, sorry, from your personal income. By the end of the year, you may have a negative or you might have some tax return in exchange. So you can play with that.
Okay, but it's not necessary. Then it becomes important to have the legal entity set up when they start selling stuff. Once there's an exchange of money and they start earning the revenue, that's when it's important to go ahead and have that legal entity set. Is that what I'm
Definitely.
hearing? Okay.
Definitely. I mean, there's no question that by the time you sell your first product or you provide a service for the first time, you need to have your entity form in that moment. Okay,
Okay.
but I think that his question is it goes a little bit further. Okay, how soon? If not, I'm not thinking even in selling my first product in the first few weeks. Should I set up an entity? And I would say yes if you're sure that you're going to do it soon. Okay, because again, you can play with all the business expenses and you can use it in a tax efficient manner.
Okay.
There's another question, right?
Let's see. He was a follow up. He mainly asked because he's using some of his personal funds before setting up the bank account.
Yes. Yes. If you're setting up a business bank account, you will need to have the entity form. Okay. And again, some banks will require you to have $500 or $1,500 in the bank account. I know SunTrust, they have a specific bank account for small business, and they don't require you to have money there. Okay, so you won't be paying fees as long as you make 4 or 5 transactions a month. I think Bank of America, they require you to have $1,500 in the bank account, and if you don't have it, um, you will be paying, I think it's like $12 a
A
month.
higher fee, yeah.
And you don't,
Um,
so you don't want to have cash sitting on, not today, you don't want to have cash sitting on a bank account, okay? Because you're afraid of losing money paying fees. So you can explore the market.
and again, just because he doesn't have the legal entities set up, that doesn't mean that he can't charge the startup expenses to the business, right?
Yeah,
Is it just important? He just needs to keep good track and a good record of all the expenses that he's putting out right now. Keep all the
yeah,
receipts, keep all the receipts, and keep a good record, which It'd probably just be done in Excel for now, correct?
Yeah,
You
you
could
can do
just
it.
keep everything on Excel?
Yes, you can do it in Excel. You can do it on Excel. You can do QuickBooks for small businesses as you grow. Okay, but today is very simple. It's, I mean, it's like you're basically uh, doing all your inputs and outputs on a spreadsheet. Is very easy.
Yeah, until you actually get it set up.
So if you're making $65,000 a year on a salary because you have your work, your job, whatever, and then you have this side business, this side gig where you're investing money, spending money, and you're not getting any profit right now because you're not supposed to from the very beginning. But you can still use those expenses from your company, from your LLC, okay? And when you're going to do the income tax for 2020, you're going to add what they call the Schedule K. Basically, you're going to add a form to your individual income tax saying, hey, I spent this amount of money in my business in 2020. I want to deduct this from my income, from my $65,000 a year I made in my regular job from this company. So basically, your taxable income is going to be lower.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? I know Fatima, you had your hand raised, and then it went down again. Did you have any other questions, ma'am? You can take yourself off mute if you did, or any of the other participants. We've got time for one. Okay, no, she said no. Um, we've got time for one more question. If not, let me put this out here. I'll have the last question. So, of course, um, Javier, we always tell people to go to the source. When they have a question, it's best that you go to the source. Go to a, BARD. If you have an accounting question, you want to talk to a CPA. If you have a tax question, you want to talk to a tax accountant or you want to talk to the IRS. Oftentimes, having a conversation with an attorney is difficult because you work on attorneys work on billable hours. What's the best way if these startups have additional questions? How do you suggest they try to get their legal questions answered?
Well, there's a lot of resources out there for entrepreneurs. Um, there's some incubators and co-working spaces where they
Oh,
have.
Javier, you broke up.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Incubators and co-working spaces.
They do
We hear
have.
you now. Yep.
Yeah, they do have. Most of them they have like dedicated legal counsels, and they do it for free. They have um, office. You hear me now?
Were you going to say office hours?
I'm losing you again.
Yeah, I know. Come on, WebEx. We need like one more minute. Hang in
Yeah.
there. We're almost done.
Yeah.
I
So
think we heard office hours. That was the last thing I heard.
yeah, so I know, for instance, it depends on the of the organization, but most co-working spaces and incubators in town, they do have dedicated office hours from attorneys from big law firms coming once a week, once a month, and we do it too. We have a partnership with two incubators and places in town where we go once a week or once a month, and we answer all the questions for startups, especially most in the pre-revenue stage. We also have in our firm what we have a program for small businesses and pre-revenue companies. We call it the legal accelerator. So basically, companies with no revenues or below under $200,000 a year, they get subsidized subsidized rate, basically, uh, where we charge like a very low amount of money for companies to do all the basics they need to start their company. Um, and we're not the only one doing that. There again, there's a lot of resources. If you go to the SBA website, you will find a lot of information. If you go to the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, they have
Mhm.
an office in Georgia State, I believe, in downtown. Uh, they can give you, they have a consultants who give you free advice. Is that legal advice? No, okay, but they can help you with many other resources. So there's a lot of information here.
Yes.
Uh, it takes time, and I know it's troublesome to navigate um, through some of this information, but just give me a call. You have my email. Um, so feel free to reach out to me and ask any question you might have. I won't charge you for that because I'm friends with Erica and with Launch ESU, so it's a complimentary. Feel free, please, to reach out to me. We can have a more extensive conversation on any specific question you might have. And if I don't know the answer, I will connect you with a good lawyer that won't charge you much or even free again to answer those questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Gonzalez. That is very, very generous of you. I appreciate it. The one charge I want to challenge the members and the students to is that if you do take Attorney Gonzalez up on his time, on his offer, just make sure you do your due diligence. Oh, all information is not on the internet, but there's a ton of good information out there. Do a little research so that you can ask him an educated question. Please take the initiative. Don't just ask a question that could take you 30 seconds to find the answer on the internet. So that's my ask for you is that you when you go to him, you have done a little research and you've hit a brick wall where you can't take your question any further before you reach out to him. And with that, Attorney Gonzalez, I want to say thank you again so very much. We appreciate your time, your information. We know that the legal questions are, the more complicated questions for these young startups, and especially now more than ever in this unprecedented environment that we're in. We know that they have questions, and we appreciate you being here and your time. And thank you so much to your wife and to the girls for them behaving this afternoon. We appreciate them not taking over the meeting. Tell them thank you. They get some ice cream from Auntie Erica tonight. Extra scoop
Yes.
of ice cream.
Thank you. Thank you. After yeah,
So
after the call because then the sugar rush is gonna be bad.
after, okay, later. So if we're in person, we will be giving you a Panther standing round of ovations, round of applause. So you'll have to accept virtual applause from us today. Thank you so much. Everybody else, if you have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. Do a little homework before you take Attorney Gonzalez up on his offer. Again, tomorrow we're doing writing a business plan. On
Very
Thursday
important.
is
Very
dealing,
important.
yes,
Very
Thursday
important.
is dealing with feelings. All of our events can be found on the GSU calendar, which is calendar.gsu.edu/launch GSU. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Everything calendar. I took my calendar.gsu.edu launch GSU. So please stay tuned to that for all of our events for the month of April. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Thank you all so much for your time. Everyone enjoy their day. Be well, stay safe, and of course, wash your hands. I
Yes.
appreciate you.
And,
Take
and
care.
please, don't feel discouraged about the situation.
Absolutely.
This is a really good time to thrive. In times of necessity, invention is the mother. What's the say? Necessity is the mother of all invention.
There you go. Necessity is the mother of all invention. Absolutely. To try to
Yes.
find opportunities in
These
this
are
time.
this is the time for opportunities, and
Yes.
those with the leadership skills, You know, you don't need a leader when everything is doing great, when everything is easy and running smoothly. You need a leader when things go south. So for those of you who were putting aside that idea, they were focused on other things. This is the time for many people to thrive, to take the best out of you. Okay, so please do it.
Yes, yes. So
Well,
um,
and thank you for having me, Erica.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you. You have a great our calendar one last time for everyone, and hopefully I will see you guys on a presentation soon. Take
Bye.
care. Have a great day. Bye bye.